WTN. Donald Trump is speaking. Can we catch some of this? Can you jip some of this if possible? I'm over on 13. So the trial has ended for day number 2. And as we speak, Donald Trump is speaking in the aftermath of the trial because they ended it early because of Passover. Let's pull this up.
Not to this extent ever happened before. I'm not allowed to defend myself, and yet other people are allowed to say whatever they want about me. Very, very unfair. Having to do with the schools and the closings, that's Biden's fault. And by the way, this trial is all Biden. You know, this is all Biden, just in case anybody has any question. And they're keeping me in a courtroom that's freezing, by the way, in a courtroom.
He hates that the courtroom's so cold.
Well,
he brings it up every day.
That's probably an advantage because he can't campaign. Nobody knows what he's doing. You can't put two sentences together. But he's out campaigning. He's out campaigning, and I'm here in a courtroom, sitting here, sitting up as straight as I can all day long, because you know what? It's a very unfair situation. So we're locked up in a courtroom, and this guy's out there campaigning, if you call it a campaign. Every time he opens his mouth, he gets himself into trouble. So that's the story. I have an unconstitutional gag order by a highly conflicted judge that should recuse himself. Very simple. On the schools, should have never happened. What's going on in this country now should have never happened. But of course, the Ukraine war would have never happened. The Israeli attack would have never happened. Inflation would have never happened. We have the worst president in the history of our country, and he's the one that has us in all these different lawsuits. Thank you very much.
I did what I came to do.
There's Donald Trump speaking before the assembled media outside of the courtroom in New York City, leaving the courtroom after a second day of testimony. Apparently, Pecker wrapped it up on the stand. Why do you keep laughing? That is David Pecker, who is the head honcho over at National Enquirer. And he wrapped up his testimony for the day. And probably had some hard questioning on the part of the prosecution. What? They probably asked some hard questions to Pecker. Look, I could do this all day. If you keep giggling, you're not helping. You keep giggling and you're encouraging me. Donald Trump says that he felt like the courtroom was too cold. I don't know what everything in my brain tells me not to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Are you ready? Don't make me laugh. You ready? All of this is true. Former President Donald Trump, outside of the courtroom after a second day of testimony, indicated that he felt it was very cold inside of the courtroom and was being kept cold intentionally so. No word on whether or not this affected Pecker on the stand. Back to you. Yeah, so it's a second day of testimony wrapped up. The judge in the case, Judge Merchan, told the defense team that they were, quote, losing all credibility during a Tuesday hearing about whether or not the 45th president of the United States of America violated the gag order in the Manhattan criminal trial. According to Merchan, he told Trump attorney Todd Blanche, I have to tell you right now, you're losing all credibility in the court. Tuesday's proceedings began with Merchan hearing the prosecution request that Trump be held in contempt for violating a gag order that bans him from speaking publicly about witnesses and family members of court officials. Merchan imposed the gag order on Trump before the trial began, ordering him to abstain from making comments or directing others to make comments regarding witnesses' potential participation or the prosecution team. The gag order does, underline does, allow Trump to publicly speak about District Attorney Alvin Bragg. The DA's office last week argued that Trump violated the court order on several occasions, including on social media, and argued he should pay a $1,000 fine for a handful of instances. Prosecutors alleged Tuesday that Trump violated the court order a total of 10 times. My grandfather told me a story when I was a kid. And I think it's a story that has been regularly told. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not, but I'm going to choose to believe that he was. My granddad had a motorcycle when he was in his early 20s. It was an Indian motorcycle with a side shifter. Oh, what I wouldn't do to have it today. Or to have my grandpa back today, but that's another story. But Pa told this story to me, and I'm going to relate it to you the manner in which he related it to me. And it's an old story that maybe some of you have heard in the past. So my grandpa was driving through, according to him, New Ellington, South Carolina, which is his old stomping ground. When my granddad was a teenager, they moved them from Myers Mills, South Carolina, or Dunbarton, South Carolina, to New Ellington. They destroyed Dunbarton, Myers Mills, and the old Ellington in order to create the Central Savannah River Plant to build nuclear bombs, or atomic bombs as they were known. And so he was driving through Ellington on his Indian motorcycle, and he was pulled over by a police officer, a sheriff's deputy to be specific. The sheriff's deputy pulled him over and told him that he was driving 18 miles an hour too fast in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, and that the fine would be $10, payable to the sheriff's deputy or payable to the judge at some point during the week. According to my grandfather, after learning of the fine of $10, he reached into his wallet, he pulled out a 20. He handed the 20 to the sheriff's deputy and said, "Keep the change. I'll be coming back through here in about 2 hours." To which my grandfather...
I really hope that's true,
I hope it's true, too. My granddad said that the guy arrested him and threw him in jail for doing it. And he actually said it was a joke that I'd heard, and I decided to try it on the sheriff. He said the deputy picked him up off the motorcycle, like with one hand, boop, and carried him to the back of the sheriff's deputy car for being a, quote, smartass, end quote. Now, understand, this was back in 1948, 1949. What I wish, the reason I tell you this story now, what I wish is that Donald Trump would cut the judge. I know that you can't do this. Cut the check to the judge for, let's say, $50,000 and say this should cover the first few incidents of contempt, and I'm going to go ahead and prepay for about 45 more instances of contempt, because I expect I'm going to have a few other things to say about this dog and pony show, sham trial that you're putting me through, when I ought to be providing the American people with the narrative as to how I'm going to control some of these fires that have gotten out of control when I am president of the United States starting next year. Huh? The defense team argued in the hearing that Donald Trump was, quote, responding to attacks when he made comments allegedly violating the court order. Merchant pressed Blanche to provide instances of where Trump was responding to a specific incident. I've asked you 8 or 9 times, show me the exact post that he was responding to, and you haven't been able to do that once. The defense team argued that Trump did not violate the order and should not face penalty. Trump has repeatedly slammed the gag order as unconstitutional, and I think he's got a pretty good point. He's following the gag order hearing. The trial continues until it just got out of session. The court heard today from the first witness of the prosecution, one David Pecker. I will not be sharing some of your amateur jokes on the Members Nutrition Super Text line, but I will say that some of you referring to the gag order and the prosecution witness in the way that you are, you should be ashamed of yourself. No, to my knowledge, David Pecker does not have a gag order. I don't know why everybody's asking me that. He's a witness. He's not on trial. No, I don't think Stormy Daniels has one either, thank you. What? These are questions being asked on the Members Nutrition Super Text line. I've got to answer them. Look it. If you want details of this case, all you need know is this. Donald Trump is on trial for two reasons. One, it keeps him off the campaign trail. It keeps him and America distracted from the real world solutions that he can provide to so many of the issues that Joe Biden is allowing to happen around the globe and facilitating happening here at home in our country. Donald Trump has real ideas about how to solve some of those issues. Those are not filtering through because the mainstream media chooses to focus on this dog and pony show of a trial. Why do I refer to it as a dog and pony show? For those of you who are newbies to the audience or perhaps have not been listening very long, let's go over it again. Donald Trump was accused of falsifying business records. What Donald Trump's people would say is that they properly noted payments to his attorney as retainer payments, and those monies that went to his attorney in part went to Stormy Daniels. It was an agreement between Stormy Daniels, a former actress within pornography circles, and Donald Trump so as to prevent her from speaking publicly about what she claims to be an alleged affair. So Donald Trump paid his personal attorney his money, not campaign money, not anybody else's money. It was his money. He paid his former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, money. Michael Cohen went on to pay Stormy Daniels roughly $130,000 to quiet her claims of an alleged extramarital affair that she claimed she had with the then real estate tycoon in the early 2000s. Trump has denied having this affair with Stormy Daniels. Regardless, paying someone to keep quiet is not illegal. It never has been illegal. It never will be illegal. Falsifying business records is a misdemeanor under New York law. That misdemeanor has already run the statute of limitations. So the state of New York could not charge him in that way for that misdemeanor. But what they could do is parlay the 34 counts. They're all the same count. It's all about paying Stormy Daniels money. They could parlay that if they could attach somehow a different charge to create a felony where no felony existed. In order to do that, they attached an underlying crime. They suggested, the prosecution has, and they've yet to demonstrate what their suggestion is, that Donald Trump facilitated the fraud in order to cover up a separate crime. Y'all with me so far? This was a misdemeanor that statute has run out. It would be, if he is proven guilty in a court of law, what they're accusing Donald Trump of doing would amount to a slap on the wrist. He would pay a fine. He would move on with it. Many, many others have done this in the past. Bill Clinton has done it. He was never charged with anything. John Edwards has done it. The federal government went after Edwards, and they lost that case. These are two Democrats. Not to mention how Hillary Clinton utilized her legal team to wash money that she was sending to pay for the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total bag of garbage. Now, in order to make this case, Alvin Bragg had to bend over backwards to tie things together, and he has yet to demonstrate what the underlying crime would be. Now, I'm just trying to make sure that you understand this. So Donald Trump put down on his business. I mean, Donald Trump didn't do any of this, but he's the guy whose name's on the door, so they're accusing him. He's the guy that they're going after politically, so they're accusing him. That Donald Trump, quote, falsified business records, misdemeanor, in order to cover up a larger crime. Okay? In order to charge him with a felony, which they have to tell him what crime it is, which they haven't. Does that seem like good American justice to you? The former president of the United States of America, and more importantly, the current Republican nominee for president of the United States of America, is on trial, and the prosecutor in the case and the judge providing oversight. It was difficult for me even to get it out. The trial has started, and they have yet to tell Donald Trump's team what the underlying crime that they're accusing him of covering up exactly was. It's not illegal to pay someone to stay quiet. You can pay. If I want Bel Kay to be quiet about all of the secrets that I've told him about how Matt Murphy lives his life, then I am within my rights to pay him my money, and he signs a non-disclosure agreement, and he'll never tell you those dirty little secrets.
And I would encourage you to do that.
I better start pretty quick now that I bring it up. In the state of New York, what you can't do, this was all designed to stop mob money. It was designed to stop the washing of mob money. And no one can tell me what the crime is. What I have done is I have opened up a Pandora's box on the Members Nutrition Super Text line. I apologize to everyone. I'm just thankful that all of you can't see what I'm seeing. There are too many David Pecker jokes to count. And none of them, well, most of them I can't repeat.
Some of these are a little beyond the pale.
I heard he shriveled during cross-examination. That's pretty good. This whole thing is pretty flaccid, if you ask me. That's too much. That's too much. It's 22 after the hour at Super Talk.